All right, folks, that's enough of all that music. Unhappy Thursday, coming to you live from uh, our hotel room here at Fort Benning, Georgia. This is the Unhappy Gilmore show, part of the Green Legion Radio family. We thank you for joining us from wherever you may be and whatever service you're using, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, or X, and of course, whatever device you're using. So please pull up a chair, turn up the volume if you got to, and you might because my voice is still a little shot. Crack open a cold one if you're trying to get your weekend started early. And let's put an end to Friday Eve and welcome in the upcoming weekend. Yeah, we are here in Georgia. And I'll go into some details here in a few minutes. But so Grady finishes his airborne training today. Actually, was his last jumps, and the ceremony's tomorrow morning at 9. So crank down here. This one I did on my own. So we'll like I said, we'll go into details on that in just a couple of minutes here. Give you some idea of how my past week has gone. You can kind of still hear it in my voice. So we're working through it. Lou Mancini in the room. What's up, brother? Josh with us as well. Nick started at 7. You better make it fast. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see if we get the full hour in or not. I've got a TV right here. The volume's muted, so it'll be all right. But yeah, I very much would like to see the Knicks wrap this up tonight. You don't want any part of a Game 7. Look, they say Game 7 is the best 2 words in sports. That's great. It's usually accurate. What I would also tell you is, I'm sure all of you will agree, yeah, best 2 words in sports, unless your team is involved in it. Then it's just massive ball of stress, right? It just drives everybody crazy. Joyce Russ, how you doing, Ma? Congratulations, Grady. David Loeb, let's go Flyers and Grady. Thank you for that, brother. Yeah, there's the cough still lingering there. All right, let me do the business end of things. And I don't have my second monitor. I have a second laptop here that I've got some stats on, but I don't have a second monitor to have my little cheat sheet on. So we're going to go just all off of memory here. Michelle's favorite part of the show. We are proudly sponsored by Cheerleader Gentlemen's Club, located at 2740 South Front Street in Philadelphia, just minutes away from the sports complex. Cheerleaders brings you the area's most beautiful women on 5 different stages. Open from noon until 2 a.m. and until 4 a.m. on Fridays and Saturdays. Now featuring a full menu, daily drink and food specials, and a premium selection of cigars in a cigar lounge. If you're looking to go out and catch your Flyers for some round 2 action, and you don't want to sell a kidney to get tickets to go into the arena, why not head over to Cheerleaders instead and enjoy the 75-foot HD TV wall, as well as HD TV screens throughout the entire club. Once again, folks, that is Cheerleader Gentlemen's Club, located at 2740 South Front Street in Philly. Call 215-467-1980 for all of your group and party information. Not so bad, huh? Bottom of your screen, folks. Always scrolling at the bottom of the screen whenever we do this show. GreenLegion.com, the best and longest tenured in the business. You will not find a better way to get out on the road and catch the birds. You also won't find a better way to do a home tailgate. 11,000 or 1,100 person footprint at Stateside Live, right outside, right there at the sports complex. You also get treated to the Green Legion pregame show live there on the spot. But if you're looking to get out on the road, we are at 2026 schedule. We are at Dallas always. And these are longer trips. Obviously, we're always at the Giants and at the Commodes too, but those are bus trips, right? I'm talking about your big travel trips. So at Dallas, at San Francisco, at the Titans, that's Nashville, at the Bears, at the Cardinals, at Jacksonville. I think that might be it. But, if you're looking to get out on the road and have a good time, head on over to greenlegion.com, click on trips and tailgates, click on away trips. If it does not say sold out, book away, folks. Get yourselves lined up. We've only got 2 weeks until the week of the schedule release. I believe it is due out the week of the 11th. Why is it showing me that? I swear things are just stupid sometimes. There we go. Yeah, so not next week, but the week after. Schedule is due out the week of May 11th. That was the word from Schefter. Now, we'll get leaks of primetime games, and some of the international stuff is already out. I will tell you, if you were looking to go to Jacksonville for whatever reason, I would look at that game probably being played in London. So just keep that on your radar. So if you wanted to go to London, get ready because it's probably going to happen. But plenty of other games involved. Yeah, Lou, Tennessee, Nashville, baby, Nashville. If you're looking to hang out with me out on the road, that would be the one. So provided the schedule comes out, the dates line up okay, we will be on our way to Nashville for Birds at Titans later this year. I may try to sneak to Chicago, but if I do, that would be a very, very short trip. Not even sure I'd stay 2 nights. Possibly just get up there for game day, and I don't know. We'll see. Or get up there the Saturday, stay overnight, get up Sunday, do the tailgate and the game, and then boogie on back home. But we'll see. Usually the schedule, I think it's traditionally been a Thursday. So when you look at the week of May 11th being the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So you're looking at the 14th. I would guess 13th, 14th, somewhere in there would probably be the way to go, the way to look at it. But yeah, get yourselves over to greenlegion.com and get signed up now and get it on that early bird because if you guys, one thing I can tell you, if you think that you're going to just, okay, schedule's out, got it. And, well, I'd like to go to Nashville. The dates look good, but I'm going to wait till later in the year to make up my mind. Don't bet on it. The trips will sell out. For those of you there in the Philadelphia area, you will have the option to purchase airfare through us as well. For a separate charge, obviously, but those will sell out quick as well. And then you'll be like the rest of us with the self-travel. So don't hesitate, folks. If you see a trip you want to go on and the dates work, or when the schedule comes out, or the dates don't matter to you, just go ahead and book it now, and avoid all the BS later on. I know there's other groups that do this, right? There's a few of them, and we're not here to rip anybody, okay? All I'm going to say is if you've traveled with them before, why not give us a shot, and then you come on back and tell me what you think, all right? Green Legion, folks, longest tenured and best in the business. Always scrolling at the bottom of the screen. All right. Over to the room one more. Well, not one more time, but over to the room here again. Keenan, Mother's Day schedule release. Yes, sir. Russ Taylor, Gilmore, all that is missing is a casting couch in the background. Cue the music. Man, don't make me laugh too hard. I can't fight off the cough enough. Even just a couple of, it's better today. Even yesterday, I couldn't even giggle like that without coughing. So, no problem. I'll use my private jet. Who's with me? My jet has a stripper pole like Iron Man 1. Hell yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Let's go. All right. Let me give you a little rundown of the past week, and then we'll get on to some fun shit, and then we'll get the hell out of here so I can get you guys. I know the Sixers play tonight, so I'm sure you guys are all getting pumped up for that. Believe me, I'm hoping you take Boston to 7. I want the Sixers to win because I hate everything Boston sports. But I picked Boston before the series. I just think they're just better. What I can tell you is if Boston doesn't make their threes, they don't have an answer for Joel Embiid. Okay. So that would put, but Boston comes out and shoots 28% from downtown again tonight. And Embiid does Embiid things like he did the other night. Philly's likely to win tonight as well. And then you're going to put Boston in a real spot. But that's why they play the games. So we'll see. All right. So last week was a big week for UnHappy Gilmore, right? We not only was it the 4-year anniversary of doing this show last week. I was 2 podcasts and a radio show last week, totaling 5.5 to 6 hours of airtime. It's quite a bit when you couple the fact that my full-time job was very, very busy. I had people on vacation that I was covering for. And then it was also draft week, so you're up late, knowing that I had, somewhere between 5 and 6 hours of radio and or podcast I was going to be doing. We had to prep. So we're up late doing prep, and then we're up late watching the draft, and then up early the following morning to get to work with how busy it is. Really ran myself ragged last week. No, don't get me wrong. I would do it again this week. I love every minute. I wish that was my full-time job. But all of that coupled with my 50 plus hours at my full-time job ran me down. And so I ended up kind of falling apart. Russ, I swear to God, we're going to cut some of this view out. You are gross, dude. What's the tissue been used for? I'm getting to it, man. So really, really run down. And last Friday night was 2 hours no, I know you're just joking around, bro. You're good. We did the 2-hour show at the back porch. A lot of fun for rounds 2 and 3 of the draft. And then we're out late that night, having a good time. So Saturday morning, I wake up and I'm hungover, right? And I'm figuring it's just a hangover. And I had smoked a bunch of cigarettes, because I was drinking and whatnot. And throat was all sore and raw and shit. It felt more severe than it normally does after a night of drinking. So maybe there was something there, but I didn't think a whole lot of it because I was just, I was feeling hungover. But then Sunday came and I could tell something was off. Something was not right. And then Monday, I was not right. Tuesday morning was worse. And it got to, I said, okay, we're going to have to do something doctor-wise here. Keep in mind, knowing that the plan was to leave Wednesday to start driving down here. So I don't have time for illness, really, at any point in my life, but in particular this week. It just wasn't going to work out. So the first doctor I talked to, doesn't think much of it. I'm coughing. My eyes at that point were swollen and bloodshot red. All red around my eyes, the inside, everything red, swollen. I think he literally thought it was an allergy problem, to which I had to explain to him 1,000 times, dude, I don't have allergy problems. Okay. My wife has those issues. My son, Liam, has some problems with that. I don't. What does he prescribe me? Two things of nasal spray. My nose was so stuffed up. I was so pissed. I went and picked up the prescriptions. I'm like, the fuck is this? Well, it's nasal spray. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me, dude. So I get back with another doctor. And I'm like, listen, I'm pretty sure I have bronchitis setting in. All right. Now, no, I'm not a doctor, and I'm not this Google doctor either. But what I am is almost 50 years old and have had bronchitis a few times in my life. And I know what it feels like. Not to mention the fact that while this is going on, Michelle took our daughter to go to the doctor because she was coughing and all kinds of shit. And guess what? Yeah, you got it right. Bronchitis. So I'm telling this doctor, I'm like, listen, I can appreciate you guys are, jittery about just handing out antibiotics and stuff. I said, dude, I have not been on antibiotics in a number of years at this point. I haven't needed to be. You're not putting anything at risk. I said, but I am telling you that is what I need. I said, I am getting in a car on Wednesday and driving to Southwest Georgia. I am like an hour and a half to 2 hours southwest of Atlanta here. Okay. It wouldn't be just an hour or two to the Florida border from where I'm at right now. If that much. I really haven't looked at it. It's probably not that. It might not even be that far. But I'm telling this doctor this. I'm like, I need antibiotics. And he's like, sir, we don't just do that. Just, we have to ask a series of questions. I'm like, okay, ask. Or you having any ear pain? I'm like, now that you mention it, I felt some fluttering and a little bit, it started to feel a little bit of pain, when I was moving my head around just a little while ago. Yeah, just came out about an hour ago. Basically everything that this dude asked where I knew it would answer yes as some sort of infection, I just told him yes. And finally, he gives me prescription for amoxicillin. They give you this benzoate, this cough stuff that never fucking works. I don't know why. But they give me an inhaler too, just in case. And wouldn't you know it, I take my first amoxicillin on Tuesday night at 7:30. Wednesday morning, I wake up and I'm still not feeling great. But I could tell there was a difference. My eyes weren't swollen anymore. Have something to eat, take another pill. By about 10:30 in the morning, I'm like, yeah, we're still going to be able to do this. Albeit run down. Okay, I'm not going to lie to you. So I moved up the rental. The initial plan was to work all day on Wednesday, leave work, go get the rental car, and start driving down and get to like Knoxville, and then finish up the last 5 or so hours today. Well, because I was still contagious with acute bronchitis on yesterday, I did not go into the office. I didn't go into the plant. I didn't want to spread it. I'd already been there Monday and Tuesday thinking it was just a cold. Lo and behold, it actually is bronchitis. And I didn't want to go in and spread it. So, I was online working from the house, and I decided, you know what, we're going to go ahead and move up the rental pickup. So I went and picked up the car at noon, got back to the house, and I think I hit the road at like 1:30. And that was yesterday. And I drove to Chattanooga, Tennessee, right on the Georgia border. Stopped there. I always travel IHG, and that's because I get the free breakfast the next morning. So one of my meals is always taken care of. Holiday Inn Express across the board. And IHG is actually the line of hotels that's on your Army bases as well. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, drove to Chattanooga, actually stopped at, stopped there and got up. I had enough energy, went over to Foundry Field and took in maybe 3-4 innings, 3.5 innings of a Chattanooga Lookouts minor league baseball game last night. That was pretty cool. Got my daughter a stuffed animal and my son a pin. We'll bring that back home. And then got back to the hotel, turned on the Flyers and Penguins game. And passed out watching it. I think I made it to the start of overtime and before I fell asleep. But feeling run down, the illness and everything, the cough. I can tell you, bronchitis is a great ab workout. The coughing really does quite a number on you. So yeah, it's just been a bitch these last few days, feeling run down and then having to drive like this. But the more antibiotics I've been taking, the better off I'm feeling. by this point in the day, I start to get, pretty, today better than yesterday though. We got up this morning, had breakfast, went back up to the room, worked for about 3.5 hours, and then packed everything up, got on the road, got down here at 1:45 into the room, um, and then worked for another hour and a half, 2 hours, and then got changed and went up to the drop zone, um, where apparently it's open to the public. So actually, I got up there, and as you had to park down at the bottom of the hill and walk up, and as I'm walking up, I can see the soldiers jumping out of the plane. You can see the parachutes. I'm like, this is cool. So I get up to the viewing area, and there's a whole bunch of people out there. And I walk right up along the fence, and the planes keep coming over, and anywhere 25 to 30 of them are jumping at a time in waves, just all the way across the sky. Really cool experience. And I'm like, well, man, it's going to be pretty tough to pick Grady out of all this when they come, because they come walking back up and they got their helmets on and they're carrying their chute and their ruck and they've got an extra, I think, 80 pounds of shit on them when they're coming back up, and then they have to be inspected to make sure that they've got everything, that it's correct and all of that. And I'm standing there talking to a couple other parents and folks there, and I turn and look, and there's Grady. Comes walking right out in front. And I look over, I'm like, oh, look at the head on this. And he just you see his head pop up, and he looked over and he saw me. But the cool part was he was able to go run over, put his stuff down, and they were allowing the soldiers to come back over and talk to their parents or significant others or whoever was there to see them for a few minutes before they had to get back on the bus, back over to the airfield, get resuited back up, and jump one more time. Going into the week, the plan was they were going to jump twice. They had to get 5 jumps in. They were going to jump twice on Monday, twice on Tuesday, night jump on Wednesday. And then today, I don't know, would have been like grad prep or whatever the hell else they were going to do. Well, it apparently pissed ass rained down here all day on Tuesday, so they got washed out. So they did their 2 jumps Monday, didn't do any on Tuesday, did their night jump last night, so they had to do 2 jumps today, and the weather was good for it. So, he should be completing that now or has already done with it. So I'll wait to hear from him. They don't have their phones with them when they're out there, which probably for the best. You don't need to be here, hang on, as you're preparing to jump out of a perfectly good airplane. But yeah, so then I went and grabbed something to eat and set up the show here, and now I'm here with you guys. So that's been the last couple of days. It's been a lot. I could see it in the video here. There's actually color in my face now. I was looking pretty rough, for worse than normal. It was it's always a rough sight, but oh boy, there were a couple of days there where it looked like Balboa. They got beat up. But we're back at it here. So there you go, folks. Tomorrow morning at 9:00, literally, where am I? So it's that way. Out across basically across the street, would be about a 10-minute walk, is where the graduation will take place. And then he's not sure what he's going to have to do immediately following that. So right now, I guess my plan is I'll be over there for that, and then come back over here and just wait for word from him, and I'll be ready to go with the car and everything, and then we'll figure out what we want to do and what we'll have time to do. I'm really hoping that he doesn't all of a sudden get told, "Hey, you're out of here tomorrow up to Fort Bragg." So we'll see. We're hoping to have the weekend to spend together. Whatever time we get tomorrow, all day Saturday and at least a piece of Sunday. There is a minor league baseball team here. That was the coin flip for me tonight. I was either going to do that or do the show. And ultimately, I decided to do the show because I'd rather be in the room. It's been a long day driving again, and I kind of owe it to you guys to be here. So here I am. But they do play at 1:00 on Sunday. And so the thought is maybe Grady and I can get over to that game and then, stay for however long. And then what I would do is bring him back and drop him back off and then immediately hit the road and start my journey home. And that's it. So that's your update on UnHappy Gilmore and Grady and all of that jazz. So over to the room. I know I've been rambling on here for a while. Fucking Lou. Russ with the tissue's been used. You guys are too much. Keenan says waffles and bacon. Yeah, fegs and bacon, dude. I don't eat the eggs. I get the bacon, and then Holiday Express always has those great cinnamon rolls. They're so good, dude. And I usually bash one of those, cup of coffee, a little bit of bacon, apple juice. Then come upstairs, take a nice healthy shit, and get ready to shower and get ready to start the day. So there you go. All right. Congratulations to your Flyers. Let's start there. Up 3-0 and it got to 3-2. You're in game 6 at home last night. I know a lot of you had to be nervous. I was nervous for you. The thought, had you lost that game last night, I don't think you were beating Pittsburgh game 7 back at PPG Paints in the Steel City there. I don't see it. You had to win last night. You put yourself in that spot. When you're up 3-0, you got to be able to close. Otherwise, you run the risk. We've got a couple of more series tonight as far as the NBA is concerned. Knicks and Hawks about to tip out here in a few minutes. Knicks up 3-2 this game in Atlanta. Really like to see the Knicks go ahead and just wrap this up. I don't want any part of a game 7. And then you've got the Celtics and Sixers at 8:00. Where, look, I'm just going to be perfectly honest with everybody. And I know a lot of you are sick of the Sixers and, they won't get out of the second round no matter what they do. And you're not wrong. But, the bottom line for the Celtics here, the bottom line is they live and die so much with that three-point shot. They are the darling of analytics-driven basketball is what the Boston Celtics are. That's why they shoot all those three-pointers. The problem is when they're not making them, they're very beatable. They do defend well from a guard to a wing position, but what they do not have is a center. They have no semblance of a center. And when you get someone as talented as Joel Embiid is, and we all love to bash Embiid, me too. I'm on that bandwagon where, stay healthy, dude. Like your most valuable attribute is your availability, and that guy doesn't have it. However, when he is out there, and you saw him the other night, Boston's got no answer for that. None. So when the Celtics want to come out and score 11 points in a fourth quarter and shoot 28% from downtown for a game, and Embiid is able to come out and do what he did, and Boston's in trouble if they don't knock down those threes. Now, look, it also took a really nice game from Maxey, who you guys know I'm a fan of, and I feel like the Sixers should have been building around him for the last 3 years. Edgecombe is, a nice rookie addition. I think that goes well with Maxey, so you're starting to build there. But Paul George also had a nice night, the other day. So, can you rely on all those things to happen again, even if Boston misses their threes? Maybe not. But I don't think you need it to. If Paul, even if just Paul George doesn't do what he did the other night, and Boston still struggles from the outside, the Celtics having no answer for Embiid and what Maxey and Edgecombe can do, I think is enough. And the Celtics can find themselves very, very easily in a game 7. Now, the problem with Boston is they could come out and shoot 48% from downtown, 48% from downtown, and run you guys off the floor. That's the difference. Really, the line for them seems to be if they make 35% of their 3-pointers, right? When they've made at least 35%, I want to say they're 6-0. Over the, is it 6-0 or we're in the first round? So it's not 6-0. What the hell am I talking about? It's 2-0. Yeah. So when they've made less than that percentage is when they're losing games. So that's the line. If you can just defend out there and stop them from they're not going to stop shooting them. They're not. Now, if for some reason you guys happen to win tonight and over the weekend and knock them out, or if Boston can't get past the winner of the Knicks-Hawks series for some reason, you might see a change in philosophy with the Celtics because they're just not, at that point, they're just not getting over the hump. What's the more likely outcome? The more likely outcome is Boston, they make 36 or 37% of their threes. They beat the Sixers. And, the Knicks take care of the Hawks tonight, hopefully. And then you get Boston and New York in round 2. Boston, again, would have the same issue. They don't have the big man. What they can do is they can handle Brunson. Derek White is a really good defender. He can give Brunson fits. They could rotate Jaylen Brown on him, who's not only a good defender but has also got size. And they can make it very, very difficult for Brunson. What the Celtics can't do is answer for Cat, just like Embiid. So Cat or Embiid, stop shooting the outside shot. I'm not saying you have to just sit down there in the post all night, but you've got to make your presence known down there because Boston can't defend it, right? And we'll see if Philly needs to go into this game tonight with that mentality. Started the game out the other night with hoisting. Embiid was 0 for 5 from downtown. I think he was 5 for 13 in the first half. But in the second half, he saw a change, right? Yes, he was still shooting some mid-range and stuff, but he was getting himself into a more big man position because Boston can't defend it, right? And if the two favorites of these series win, the Knicks need to figure out how to get Cat involved, right? I think this is a Mike Brown problem more than it is a big Cat problem at this point. Because the Hawks are set up much this way too. The Hawks don't have an answer for him. They still can't get him involved. So Mike Brown has got to figure something out there. We saw the Lakers lose last night. Just a couple of days ago, it was LeBron this, LeBron that, blah, 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 blah. And how, here we go, 41 years old and yada, yada, yada. And now a couple of days later, they lose. They look bad doing it. And all you're hearing about is old LeBron. The Lakers don't have the legs. And don't get me wrong, it very much has that look that they're running out of gas. And they need their young star in Luka to get back on the floor. On the flip side, you have Houston, who doesn't need their old star in Kevin Durant because he bogs them down. They're more athletic without him. So it's pretty interesting series over there in how that's shaking out. Now you got everybody and their grandmother saying, wow, the Lakers look like shit. They look washed. They look old. Houston's going to win, blah, blah, blah. I don't know what's going to happen there. I personally don't give a shit. The sooner LeBron James is out of the playoffs, the better off I'll feel. That's just how I look at it. But so there you go. All right. Over to the room for just a moment here. David Lowe, great Eagles draft. Yes, we did well. We did very well. I'm not going to go crazy on the draft picks tonight because I don't. I want to leave some meat on the bone for Mason when he rejoins us next week. All right. So I'm gonna take like one guy here, one maybe two, and we'll run with that for tonight, and then next week we'll kind of look at the rest of the draft picks and then the fledglings, right? Your undrafted free agents. So I want to leave things for Mason as well. I don't want to just hog it all without him here. David Loeb, let's go Flyers. Puck, yeah, go Flyers. I figured that's the reaction I gave. Mom, feel better soon. Hugs against you. Grady. Thank you. Feel better. Drive safe. Yeah, I won't be driving back until Sunday. I think my boss is going to hate it, but I'm probably not going to be back in the office until Tuesday. And we're just going to have to see how the weekend goes. Andy Bagley, let's go Sixers, and a happy birthday to you, sir. All right. So last week was the draft, right? We had a fun week. We did an hour and a half podcast, UnHappy and the MP last Tuesday. And then Thursday night, we joined Quimby on a studio show with John Jansen, and Mason joined us on that one too for 2 hours. First round of the draft. Anybody who caught that show, you saw right towards the end of it, there was a wager put out there, $20 per person, of what the Birds were going to do with that first round pick. Were the Birds going to sit at 23? Were they going to trade up, or were they going to trade back? And if they were going to trade, to which spot were they going to trade to? And I was going to pick traded up to number 20 because 3 spots at that point in the draft felt good, but I didn't like trading with Dallas, so I said 19. Well, I was closest. So 6 people, $20. Time to pay up, motherfuckers. Let's go. I want my money, bitches. Anytime you fuckers are ready for that damn Venmo, just let me know. But yeah, that was fun. And then Friday night, of course, we did rounds 2 and 3, UnHappy Gilmore show last Friday night, live from the Midwest Eagles Nest at the Back Porch Saloon in Westchester. So, did a lot of draft stuff, right? First round, we trade up to number 20 with Dallas, and we take USC wide receiver Mekhi Lemon. Not going to beat this one to death. I'm going to let Mason run with this one. What I am going to do is just point out a couple of things and then move on to round 2. What up, Cap? My man, how we doing? So you guys remember the last time we picked a USC wide receiver number 20 overall, right? It was Nelson Aguilar. Yeah, it didn't go well. However, the last time we traded up with Dallas to take a wide receiver was Devontae Smith. So, Smitty coming off a Heisman season. Well, this kid was Lemon was the Blitnikoff Award winner. So, we'll see. I'm not big on USC wide receivers. I'm just not. They don't have the greatest track record overall. Everybody keeps telling me this kid was different. We'll see. And Cap, you're not wrong. He was good in this. We're talking about Aguilar. I get it, but USC wide receivers overall is kind of like, all right, I'm cautiously optimistic here. Okay. What else that pick did was, for those of you, I'm sure you guys have all seen the videos by now. So Pittsburgh is hosting the draft, right? And Pittsburgh picking number 21. And so, obviously it's their city, it's their draft night, it's all that shit. They're on the phone with Mekhi Lemon, telling him all this shit. And here comes the agent with the phone and it's Howie to let him know that we just traded up in front of him to take Lemon. I mean, that was hysterical to me. In Pittsburgh, here they are, the host city. They're about to draft this wide receiver. They're going to introduce him to the crowd. All this hype, because the host city always has all the hype, right? And then here comes Howie to shit on everybody's parade. I thought that was classic. The other thing to call out here is, look, most of us intelligent enough to know that the likelihood of AJ Brown coming back even before the Lemon pick was next to no chance, right? Anybody that held out hope, I'm hoping by this point you gave up on it once we picked Mekhi Lemon, right? That killed it. That was the last nail in the coffin. Here's one thing I am gonna say to you though, about the AJ Brown thing and losing him, coupled with what one of the other NFC contenders managed to do. So the Rams have been very good for a few years, obviously. Last year's playoffs, our good friend Roger was scared of the Rams in the playoffs, even though he said he would rather go on the road to play the Bears than be home to play the Rams, to which I told him he was insane. And one of the reasons for that was the fact that the Rams don't have elite corner play. And AJ Brown has devoured the Rams since he's been in an Eagles uniform. This offseason is going to mark the end of that advantage. The Rams traded for McDuffie, so they got themselves a bona fide stud corner, and we are about to lose AJ Brown to a trade. So that advantage over, let's be honest, a serious NFC rival, that advantage is now gone. All right. So I just pointing that out here because I think it's relevant, and we'll see how it plays out. Now, let's move to round number 2, where we had a lot of fun on Friday night. You guys remember the last guest that I brought on was our friend Roger. And Roger sat down and was immediate. He wanted Eli Stowers. He was all about Stowers. And I told him, I said, look, I get the whole tight end thing. I get it. At that point, my thoughts were still that the offensive lineman was a bigger need, more important need. However, if somewhere in their top 100 or whatever way the Birds have it set up, Stowers apparently outranked any other lineman they had up there, which is fine. If Howie and his team and the coaching staff or whatever have put together, look, there's no reason to doubt what they're doing, right? They took Stowers. And I don't know who was watching at that point because we were almost 2 hours in at that point. And it was getting a little long, and we were about to wrap it up anyways, but I just wanted to get that Birds second-round pick in there. And they draft Stowers, and Roger goes berserk. Jumps up out of the chair next to me, goes running over to the TV, which was just off camera. He's dancing around. I thought for a minute he was going to hump the television. I'll just be perfectly honest with you. I thought for a minute I was about to watch a grown man, someone who I call a friend, hump a 60-inch screen at a public establishment. I really thought that was about to happen. He was so pumped up. It was such a cool freaking a cool moment to catch on. The only thing you couldn't see was like the camera's here. So, I'm right here. Roger was right here. He jumps up and freaks out and runs off that way. The TV is like right on over here, like maybe another 5 feet away, and you couldn't see it. All you could see at that point was me cracking up because he was losing it. It was a lot of fun, though. So Stowers, right? Look, tight end was a need. It was. Look, with our first 2 picks, we drafted the Bolitnikoff winner and the guy who pretty much all of your experts said was the number 2 wide receiver on the board. You've probably heard it over and over again at this point. What they're calling the value of getting Lemon at 20th overall, because I guess most of the projections had him already off the board at that point. Okay. Now you go to round 2, and we get the Mackey Award winner, which is awarded to the nation's top tight end. Number 2 tight end on the board, right? Kenyon Sadiq was the top-rated tight end. I get it. And it sounds weird when we're talking about a guy who won the nation's best for his position, won the award for that, but he wasn't the top-rated. I understand. Stats don't always tell the whole story. But Star Wars is as advertised, to be perfectly honest with you. I watch a bunch of SEC football. Vanderbilt had their biggest year ever. A lot of people want to give a lot of that credit to Diego Pavia, who I think is a fucking punk. But, be that as it may, he did have a big year. But he wasn't the only game in town. Eli Stowers was his tight end. So, you look at his, 2023 at New Mexico State, 36 catches, 361 yards, 2 touchdowns. Then he transfers to Vanderbilt. 2024, 50 catches, 644 yards, 5 touchdowns. And then last year, where he wins the Mackey Award, 62 catches, 769 yards, 4 touchdowns. This is a tight end, guys. This is not, it's not Mekhi Lemon, right? Who, by the way, had 4 1,000-yard seasons. So, Cap, I know you're agreeing with me there about the USC wide receivers. This kid had 4 1,000-yard years. So, I mean, there's reason to be cautiously optimistic, but I'm going to stay cautious until I actually see it. Knicks jump out to a quick 5-0 lead here as that game's underway. Those are our first 2 picks. Was I a little surprised that we didn't get the offensive lineman in the first round? Yeah. I really felt like that was the biggest need. I wouldn't call it like sheer disappointment. I just, outside of Devontae Smith, we haven't really done well drafting wide receivers, right? It really hasn't been our strong suit. So, again, cautiously optimistic with Mekhi Lemon. I think Stowers has the chance to be a home run. The only issue you do get with him is, look, and we saw him at the combine. The kid's a great athlete. He really is. And I'm talking about Eli Stowers here. He runs the 40 in 4.5. All right. That's not bad for a wide receiver, let alone a tight end. Problem is 6'3" 3/4, 239. Not exactly the biggest guy on the planet, right? So we're going to have to see how he does in blocking schemes at the NFL level. All right. He's a really good athlete. He's got great hands, runs great routes. But, when you're drafted that high as a tight end, you're expected to be more than just a pass catcher at that role. And really the Eagles, the way our offense is set up, they'd really rather have a guy who's much more like a Goddard who can do both. Not just be the pass catcher. So we'll see. I've got high hopes for Stowers. He was fun to watch at Vanderbilt. He had a great year last year. So you can't knock the pick. He was won the Mackey Award as the nation's top tight end. Again, the value at the pick. And just like that, it's 6'4" Atlanta, 6'5" Atlanta. But to not get the offensive lineman at the top was I'd be lying to you if I said it wasn't at least a little disappointing. I really wanted the lineman. So we've got a receiver and a tight end, and then we went after the lineman. right? And I'm not going to go any further with our draft picks here. The only other one I'm going to mention is Uar, who we got in the late in the 7th round. The kid from the international portal who has never played football before, but ran the fastest 40 time of any guy over 300 pounds. It was like 4.62 or something like that. He's just this huge freight train, freakish athlete. Look, we did this with Jordan Mailata some years ago, and that's what they're trying to do again, only this time from the defensive side. Look, if this kid can put together some NFL skill that even halfway measures up to his freakish size and athletic ability, he's going to be a problem. And to spend a late 7th round pick on a guy like that at a position you're already pretty good with, he's got some guys around to help him grow. I like the pick. The kid seemed very excited. If you've watched the video of him, my God, the athleticism on someone that size is absolutely crazy. So we'll see what ends up happening with Uar. But the first 2 picks being all offense, I think also paints another picture. I think it continues to paint the same picture we've been looking at, and that's Jalen. There's no excuses. This is the last year that he's got guaranteed money, Jalen Hurts. After this season, there's no guaranteed money left on his contract. And I know we're about to trade A.J. Brown, but we're going to get some draft capital back for that. I am concerned about what kind of leverage we have and what we're going to be able to get back at this point. But, we're going to trade him. It's obvious. You don't go spend $19 million on Wicks and Hollywood Brown and bring in Elijah Moore and then draft a wide receiver 20th overall just to then hang on to A.J. Brown. It's not going to happen. Although, Cap, I saw your thing. You were holding out hope. Look, you guys all knew my stance. I didn't want to trade AJ. I didn't. The only thing I said was if he is actually actively starting to tear your team apart, if he's that big of a problem, if this is a Terrell Owens type of issue budding here, then you have to trade him. And maybe it's not as severe as what I just mentioned, but severe enough where they looked at it and they're like, okay, you're out of here. We're going to move on. I do worry about the leverage, though. Everyone knows we don't want to trade him until after June 1st because the cap hit, right? So you lose some leverage there. He's now 29 years old, not 25. There are some deeper stats that would show he may have lost a step when you look at his separation. I think it was down 2 yards per route last year versus the year before. And then you couple in the fact that this is now the second team that he's bitched his way off of, right? So with Tennessee, he was bitching because he wanted more money. So on draft day, we traded for him and then gave him the contract. Now he's bitching because he wants the ball or when he's not happy here anymore or whatever the case may be. So he's going to get moved again. It starts to become, I think as the team trading him, that also hurts your leverage. How much are we really going to give up for a guy who in, 2, maybe 3 seasons is going to end up just pulling another routine here? And then now let's throw another monkey wrench into the whole New England Patriots thing. The Patriots thing looked like a real viable option, at least in part because Mike Vrabel is there. And, he's got the relationship with AJ from their time in Tennessee. Vrabel might not be in the greatest standing with the New England Patriots at this point because of the whole scandal with Rossini. I mean, I don't know that they're done with that yet. And does that hurt the ability to move him to New England? And if we can't get New England to do it, well, who's going to take the flyer on him? Right? I'm not trading him somewhere in the NFC where he's going to be in my way. That's not good. I heard some fool on the radio talk about that the Eagles, that the Rams should try to trade for him. Brother, listen. If the Philadelphia Eagles traded A.J. Brown to the Rams, we all love Howie, but we would have to seriously have a sit-down conversation with Howie and be like, yo, man, what the fuck are you thinking? You heard me talk, a little while ago about that clear, distinct advantage we had over the Rams. And that was the Rams did not have good enough corner play, and A.J. Brown devoured them. And now both of those things are gone, right? A.J.'s about to be traded, and the Rams went out and traded for McDuffie. If you then trade A.J. to the Rams, you've basically flipped that script. The difference is we've got corners, but like you pretty much have just turned that on its head. And you have to be outside of your mind. Like, it'd be the stupidest thing under the sun. So, no, we're not trading him to the fucking Rams. I'd really rather not trade him anywhere in the NFC. I don't want him in my way. Yeah, if at some point I don't even like the idea of trading him to New England. New England's already good. And you give him AJ Brown. I mean, my God, they go, now they have a viable number one wide receiver to add to that mix. Dude, I don't even want to entertain it. I was so ready for the Pats to stink for like a decade, right? It needed to be like a decade. But here we are. Mikal Bridges is having his way with Atlanta right now. Yeah, you heard that, right? Mikal Bridges, who has been awful in this series. But yeah, so, no matter what we talk about, I always find my way back to A.J. Brown. Drives me absolutely insane. I don't know why it happens, but it just happens. I'm so sick and tired of talking about A.J. Brown. And you guys got to be sick of hearing it. I think we should just leave the A.J. thing alone. Right? And I'm going to tell Mason before next week's show, we're not talking about A.J. Brown at all. No A.J. talk. Right? I don't want to hear about A.J. until it's time to talk about A.J. And that's not going to happen until he gets traded. And then it's to who and for what. Can we make a deal, folks? Green Legion audience? We make a deal. No more fucking AJ talk until it's time. Until he gets moved. All right, guys. That's about an hour. I'm about tapped out. I can feel myself getting run down. And I'm hoping to be able to spend some quality time with my son tomorrow, Saturday, and hopefully into Sunday. Yeah, Cap's on board. Deal. No more AJ shit. All right, folks. We're gonna call it a night. So we're here at Fort Benning in Georgia. I'm gonna go see Grady finish up his airborne training, his ceremony tomorrow morning. And what happens is they get their wings tomorrow. And Cap can back me up on this. The blood wings, right? So Cap mentioned it. Was it last Tuesday night where he said blood wings? And I said, I'm going to have to, and I looked it up. And so so the wings, it's a pin and there's no back on it. So what's supposed to happen is you put it on his uniform and I'm supposed to, draw blood on my kid with the pin. So we'll see how that goes tomorrow morning. Wish me luck and Grady luck with that. But it should be an excellent morning tomorrow, to say the least. Another very, very proud moment for our family as Grady takes another step towards his as he gets moving in his career. So you guys, girls, everybody take care. We'll be back again next week. And one other thing we're going to do is we're going to start working back towards trying to get into the show's Wednesday night, folks. And we're just going to we need some semblance of order. We're moving it around a little too much. And I know that it can be difficult for us, but I know it's also difficult for you guys. So, all right, that's going to be it. So, you guys get on to your weekend. Enjoy that Flyers victory from last night. Good luck to your Sixers tonight, and in a potential Game 7 if you're fortunate enough to get there. Don't do anything we wouldn't do. Remember that Judge won't be back in until Monday. And as always, folks, go Birds.